Jai Swaminarayan, Om Namo Narayanaya. Namaste and welcome back as we walk through some of the lectures of Swami Vivekananda. I'm actually really enjoying this. It's kind of fun to somewhat put myself in his shoes, and I hope you enjoy my somewhat dramatic reading of these talks. I try to read them as though I'm him speaking to this group of folks. Today we're starting a new talk that is called Bhakti Yoga that was presented in 1896 in New York. We finished our last class on the subject of pratikas, one idea more of the preparatory bhakti, and then we will go on to para, or the supreme. This idea is what is called nishtha, or devotion to the one. We know that all these ideas of worship are right and all are good, and we have seen that the worship of God and God alone is bhakti. The worship of any other being will not be bhakti, but God can be worshipped in various forms and through various ideas. And we have seen that all these ideas are right and good. But the difficulty is here. If we just stop with this last conclusion, we find that in the end we have frittered away our energies and done nothing. It is a great tendency among liberal people to become a jack of all trades and master of none, to nibble a little here and there, and in the long run find they have nothing. In this country it many times grows into a sort of disease, to hear various things and do nothing. Here is the advice of one of our old bhaktas. Take the honey from all flowers, mix them all with respect, say yes to all, but give not up your seat. This giving not up your own seat is what is called nishtha. It is not that one should hate or even criticize the ideals of other people. He knows they are all right, but at the same time he must stick to his own ideal very strictly. There is the story of Hanuman, who was a great worshipper of Lord Rama. Just as the Christians worship Christ as the incarnation of God, so the Hindus worship many incarnations of God. According to them, God came 9 times in India and will come once more. When he came as Rama, this Hanuman was his great worshipper. Hanuman lived a very long time and was a great yogi. During his lifetime, Rama came again as Krishna, and Hanuman, being a great yogi, knew that the same God had come back again as Krishna. He came and served Krishna, but said to him, "I want to see that Rama form of yours." Krishna said, "Is this form not enough? I am Krishna. I am this Rama. All these forms are mine." So Hanuman said, "I know that, but the Rama form is for me. The Lord of Sita and the Lord of Lakshmi are the same. They are both incarnations of the Supreme Self. Yet the lotus-eyed Rama is my all in all." This is Nishtha, knowing that all these different forms of worship are all right, yet sticking to one and rejecting the others. We must not worship the others at all. We must not hate or criticize them, but respect them. The elephant has 2 teeth coming out of his mouth. These are only for show. He cannot eat with them. But the teeth that are inside are those with which he chooses food. So mix with all, say yes to all, but join none. Stick to your own ideal of worship. When you worship, worship that ideal of God, which is your own Ishta, your own chosen ideal. If you do not, you will have nothing, and nothing will grow. When a plant is growing, it is necessary that it should be hedged round lest any animal eat it up. But when it has become strong and a huge gigantic tree, do not care for any hedges. It is perfect in itself. So when just the seed of spirituality is growing, to fritter away the energies on all sorts of religious ideas, a little of this, and a little of that, and a little of Christianity, and a little of Buddhism, and in reality of nothing, destroys the soul. This acceptance has its good side, and in the end will come to it. Only do not put the cart before the horse. In the first place, we are bound to become sectarians, but this should be the ideal of sectarianism. not to avoid anyone. Each of us must have a sect, and that sect is our own Ishta, our own chosen way. However, that should not make us want to kill other people, only to hold on to our way. It is sacred and should not be told to our own brothers, because my choice is sacred, and his also is sacred. So keep that choice as your own. That should be the attitude of worship of everyone. When you pray to your own ideal, your own Ishta, that is the only God you should have. God exists in various phases, no doubt, but for the time being, your own Ishta is the only phase for you. Then, after a long course of training in this Ishta, when this plant of spirituality has grown and the soul has become strong and you begin to realize that your Ishta is everywhere, then naturally all these bondages will fall down. When the fruit becomes ripe, it falls of its own weight. If you pluck an unripe fruit, it is bitter, sour. So we will have to grow in this thought. Simply hearing lectures and all this nonsense, making a battle of Waterloo in the brain, simply undigested ideas, is no good. Devotion to one idea. Those that have this will become spiritual, will see the light. You see everyone complaining, I try this and I try that. And if you cross-question them as to what they try, and they will say that they have heard a few lectures in one place, and then a few in another, and then a handful of talks in one corner, and then a bunch of stuff in another corner. They've read some books about this and some books about that. And for 3 hours or a few days, they worshipped this and they thought about that, and then they had done enough and moved on. This is the way of fools, not the way to perfection, not the way to attain true spirituality. Take up one idea, your Ishta, and let the whole soul be devoted to it. Practice this from day to day until you see a result, until the soul grows. And if it is sincere and good, that very idea will spread till it covers the whole universe. Let it spread by itself. It will come from the inside out. Then you will say that your Ishta is everywhere, and that he is everything. We're going to pause here. I 100% agree with what he said. If you practice a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and you say you have enough here, and then you move on, that's not the way to spirituality. I thought it was. That's how I have lived much of my spiritual life. A little bit of this, and I mix that in, and oh, that looks good too, and I'm going to do this. But I found that it never really moved me anywhere. I was always sort of stuck. I would have a moment, and then it would go back down. I'd have another moment, and then it would go back down. And then I'd be frustrated, so I go over here, and then I do that. But it doesn't have, and then I go, and then it was always this sense of anxiety and a sense of longing and a sense of chasing and a sense of like a drug addict trying to get that next high, but you never do. I never really found a spirituality that deepened, but I didn't know that. I thought it was the complete opposite. I thought I was completely spiritual. Why? Because everybody around me was doing the same thing. They were doing a little of this and a little of that. And sometimes they were on a dedicated path, but they didn't realize they were actually mixing other things in. For example, the prosperity gospel of Christianity actually comes out of New Thought, which is not Christian and has New Age ideas. It's right out of New Ageism. And people don't know that. You see folks who bring these ideas in, and they don't think anything of it. And you see folks who hold a ton of ideas. And actually, sometimes they say they're more spiritual than those other stick-in-the-muds who kind of just do that one thing. So when I was doing this and that, I thought it was fine because that's what everybody was doing. Then I stopped. And I said, no, I'm not going to be spiritual but not religious. I'm going to be religious but not spiritual. Well, not really, but I'm going to focus on Sanatana Dharma, and I'm going to purge everything else from my belief system. If it's non-Sanatana Dharma, I don't want it. If it's a New Age idea that has seeped into Sanatana Dharma, I don't want it. I want to get back to the pure form. Kind of like people who talk about wanting the Christianity of Jesus, or the Christianity of the Bible before it was tossed and turned by all these sects and groups and splinters. And I found that once I did that, and once I focused, exactly what Swami Vivekananda says here, vroom, everything just went vroom. That was when true spirituality started for me, I swear. That was when a relationship developed with somebody that I didn't have before. But I didn't notice it because I was doing this, and I was feeling this and having that moment, and I was putting all the sorts of information in my head, and I had a little battle of Waterloo going on up there, which is a cute phrase he said. And yeah, it didn't work. It went nowhere, and nothing happened, and nothing grew out of it because it was a garden full of tons of seeds and no water, except once in a while, but that's not good enough. It was like someone who wants to do some exercising, so they get on an exercise bike once a month. Well, maybe once a month. Maybe it's a month and then they skip 2 or 3 months. And then they wonder why they're not losing weight. Well, it doesn't work like that. Same thing here. Same thing here. If you're on a diet, you can't be on a diet only on Mondays. Or it's only every 6th Wednesday, except on leap years, and then it's every 7th Wednesday. You'd be like, yeah, that diet's not going to work for you. We should approach religion the same way. But we don't. Human nature. Anyways, this is a nice little lecture, and I like talking about Bhakti Yoga because Bhakti is really the essence of this channel. Bhakti and Jhana work together in everything that I do, and sharing this writing and my live streams and all that. So I enjoy delving into this. So we will pick it up next time. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Swaminarayan.